Mr. Suleiman, how are you? Can you hear me? Are you hearing me, Mr. Suleiman? It's tiny as a volume on. Right. How's it now? Oh, fellow South Africans. Ngingathini ngivula. Ngicabanga nje singathini nje. Engibalekile engiyithanda mina. Noma ngavala ugwayi yabo. Safarishe sonke. Ngeke phela. Ngivala ugwayi khona sonke nje. Sobe senkingeni. Uthi ayikhuphule futhi. Yeah. Okay, how's the volume now? Testing, 1, 2, testing. Oh, yeah. Plus, testing? Oh, no, my mistake. Are you hearing me now? Testing, 1, 2, testing, 1, 2. Let's type in your phone. I think this is the highest it can be now, Mr. Suleiman. Oh. Okay, we'll take right one. Yeah? Yeah, honestly, better come on, guy. I think we are honest here and then. Yeah. Yeah. Our premium ones. Come to share this as yeah. Oh.
welcome you to this briefing on the COVID-19 update. We have in the room, as you can see, we're honored to have our honorable members of the executive. To my right, immediate right, is the MEC for Health, Sihle, and on the far end of the desk is MEC for Economic Development, Tourism, Environmental Affairs, Honorable Sihle. And then in the middle is the Premier, who will then, without any further ado, address us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let me take this opportunity to extend my greetings to all of you. MEC for Health in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, MEC Nomagugu Simelane Zulu, MEC for Economic Development, Tourism, Environmental Affairs in our province, MEC Ravi Sihle, government officials who are here, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. Before we proceed, let me humbly request that we observe a moment of silence in remembrance of the late MEC for Transport, Community Safe and Liaison, Mr. Begintuli, as well as many other fellow citizens who had passed away due to COVID-19 and other causes. Let's observe a moment of silence. May the soul of the departed compatriots rest in peace. Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, we begin this media briefing on a sad and a somber note. Having suffered the untimely passing of a number of distinguished citizens of our province. These include our dearly departed comrade, Begintuli Umpemba, who sadly left us yesterday. Former radio broadcaster and station manager of Ukhozi FM, Mr. Welcome Bodoza Nzimande Ingulube, who passed away on Friday. Former deputy chairperson of the National Council of Provinces and the ANC struggle veteran, Umama Uthandi Memela, whom we laid to rest yesterday. The international respected doctor, Imbal Master from King Dinizulu Hospital, who was a pioneer in the fight against TB, especially the drug-resistant tuberculosis. He passed away yesterday. We also send our deepest condolences to the families of all healthcare workers, as well as those of all ordinary South Africans who have passed away. We also wish the dearly departed souls farewell and eternal rest and peace in the arms of the Lord Almighty. During the previous first wave of COVID-19, we thought we had seen the worst when we spoke about being in the eye of the storm with COVID-19. But what we are seeing now is far beyond that. We're witnessing death on a catastrophic scale that have never been seen in the living memory. COVID-19 is leaving a trail of lives that have been shattered beyond anyone's comprehension. Everyone is now living in fear that they or their loved ones, friends and colleagues might be the next. Sesisesikhathini esibi ngempela esinzima kakhulu. Yingakho sizithoba sihlaba phansi ngedolo sishweleza kophezulu nasemadlozini sithi maluju. Uma kukhona esikwenzile okukhomba ukuthi kufanele sijeze ngolaka olungaka, sicela uxolo. Ngakho ngokukhulu ukuzithoba sithi sekwanele. The experience we're going through is quite painful. We are repenting to God and to our ancestors. If we have gone wrong, we plead for forgiveness. With regard to the issue of patients presenting themselves or those who are infected reporting in the social media about their status, we want to caution those who are declaring on social media and elsewhere that they have beaten COVID-19. Such statements are dangerous and even insensitive at a time when so many people are in mourning, having lost their loved ones. They are dangerous in a sense that they create a false sense of security that implies that when people recover from COVID-19, they will not contract the virus again. That is very reckless because there is a growing body of evidence and scientific evidence and as well as living examples that prove that it is possible to get reinfected. Furthermore, given the brutality of the second wave of COVID-19 and its associated variant, we are concerned about the late presentation to healthcare facilities by patients. We're noting that people over-rely on homemade recommended solutions, such as steaming and use of traditional approaches. While these may be part of our arsenal in this war, we, however, appeal and encourage that if people test positive, they must try and reach healthcare facilities on time when means could still be done. Patients are presenting when vital body levels are low, and this is a worry. We are strongly appealing to citizens to act with speed when they notice the symptoms of COVID-19, such as fever, dry cough, tiredness, loss of taste, difficult breathing or shortness of breath, chest pain or pressure, or loss of speech or movement. We remain extremely concerned that far too many people are responding late to these symptoms and arriving at our healthcare facilities when it is simply too difficult or impossible to save their lives. We know that many are skeptical of being admitted to hospital for various reasons, including that they will not be able to receive visitors. But it is much better to be in a hospital when you are sick, because help is at hand when complications set in. You can be given oxygen if you are struggling to breathe, or receive other form of medical intervention. Therefore, we are saying do not depend or delay in seeking medical attention. Go and get screened and tested so that you can be attended timelessly and as soon as possible. In terms of vaccination rollout, even as we go through this dark cloud, we are confident about the silver lining that is coming up in the form of COVID-19 vaccine. As the province of KwaZulu-Natal, we are already planning ahead based on the date for the arrival of the vaccine as announced by the President, His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa, and Minister of Health, Honorable Dr. Zweli Mkhize. We are putting in place a plan that will ensure that we roll out vaccines faster when they become available. Our starting point is education and awareness, and debunking the myths that unfortunately surround the vaccine, because for us, this will be an important race to save lives. We are increasing our testing and screening capabilities. We're working on vaccination sites in all the districts of our province, ensuring that they are in good state of readiness. The Provincial Command Council will present the full plan in the coming week. Cases are very critical in monitoring the pace of the pandemic when it comes to analyzing the trend and the statistics in the province. The latest picture of the pandemic is that in the last 7 days, KwaZulu-Natal recorded 29,147 new infections. The new infection rate continues to increase, particularly in the following districts: eThekwini, uMgungundlovu, uThukela, Amajuba, Zululand, uMkhanyakude, and Umzinyathi. There are days where we have seen numbers come down slightly, like Wednesday, where numbers went to 3,000. But we are not treating this as a trend as yet, due to the fact that the new variant is bringing surprises. As they say, one swallow does not make a summer. Maybe to take just a minute on this. In KwaZulu-Natal, when there is something major happening, it will firstly hit eThekwini, it then goes to uMgungundlovu, it goes to iLembe, and it goes to your South Coast and your Herigwala. It then spread, it takes your N2, N3, then it spread inland. So that's why we mention now, if you would see our statements 2 weeks ago, were emphatic on 6 districts. But now we include uThukela, Amajuba, Zululand, uMkhanyakude, and our Umzinyathi. And these are areas, and it shows that now it's getting to inland. KwaZulu-Natal continues to rank number 1 in the country in terms of the number of active cases. The province ranks as the 2nd highest after Gauteng in terms of the total number of laboratory cases confirmed since the beginning of the COVID-19 countrywide. Out of total number of confirmed cases, the cases stand at 200, and in fact, in terms of the total number of confirmed cases from the beginning till now, we are at 276,794, which is the 21% of the country. We are ranked the 4th highest countrywide in terms of fatalities. The province has sadly recorded 40 COVID-19 related deaths on the 16th January 2021, bringing the total number of deaths to 6,318. This is a case fatality rate of 2.3% since the beginning of the pandemic. May these departed souls rest in peace. But let's also underline this. During the second wave, we will hardly report a percentage in terms of a fatality. But today, we report 2.3, and it means that this is hitting hard, and all of us must take responsibility to protect ourselves. Quite notable, eThekwini municipality has contributed 44% of the reported deaths, and the total number is 2,769. The median age of the deaths was 62 years. More than half of the deceased were female, and this is about 54%. Out of these deaths, 4,828, which is 77%, had comorbidities. The most common recorded comorbidities among the deceased include hypertension, which accounts for 25%, diabetes at 22%, cardiac diseases at 5%, and others. In terms of recoveries, we are, however, pleased that 209,630 people have recovered from COVID-19, and this represents a recovery rate of 76%. In terms of distribution of cases and deaths by districts, from the 5th of March 2020 to the 15th of January 2021, in eThekwini, the new cases in eThekwini are 1,048. Total number of cases is 141,252. The deaths are 2,769. In Ilembe, the new cases are 216. The total number of cases is 17,287. Deaths are 259. The Nkungundlovu, 401 new cases. The total number of cases is 29,032. The deaths are 897. Uthukela, 178 new cases. 9,659 is the total number of cases, and 2,275 deaths. King Kechwayo, 21,712 is the total number of cases. 364 new cases. Deaths are 558. In Ugu, the new cases in Ugu are 246. The total number of cases is 15,381. The deaths are 384. Amajuba, in Amajuba, the new cases is 107. Total number of cases is 9,467. The deaths are 346. Mkanyagude, 197 new cases. 8,067 is the total number of cases. Deaths is 206. Hirikwala, 101 new cases. 7,311 is the total number of cases. 272 is the figure of fatalities. In Zululand, 303 new cases, 9,474. Total number of cases, 197 fatalities. In Mzinyati, 162 new cases, 5,264. The total number of cases, deaths are 154. So this tells you and gives us the provincial figure. In terms of the new cases, we have in the last week, we recorded on the 15th was 3,337. That is what we recorded on the 15th. And the total number of cases stands at 276,794, while deaths are 6,318. With regard to the infected healthcare workers are critical in our battle and in the plan against COVID-19. Their health and well-being is critical for our health system to respond to challenges imposed by the pandemic. We regularly have to assess the state of our healthcare workers and frontline personnel. A total number of 11,419 healthcare workers have been infected with COVID-19 in the public sector since the beginning of the pandemic. Of the total infected, 107 have succumbed to the disease. The majority of the infected healthcare workers has been nurses at 55%, with doctors accounting for 6%, and the rest can be attributed to other categories of staff in healthcare facilities. Hospital admissions and isolation by the 15th January 2021, the province had 4,975 patients admitted. At least 2,869, which is 58% of these, were in private hospitals, and 2,106, which is 42%, were in public hospitals. Of those admitted, 524 patients required ICU services. Private hospitals had more patients in ICU than public facilities. And in private, that was 88%, and in public, it was 12%. In terms of bed occupancy, with the public sector, it is important that we indicate that our hospitals are not yet full, but the numbers are increasing, and the numbers of people succumbing to COVID-19 has also increased. We have increased our bed capacity and oxygen, as well as oxygen supply. As at the 15th of January, out of the total number of 2,905 available beds for COVID-19 isolation, 2,082 were occupied, and this represents 72%. And from a total number of 115 ICU beds allocated in public sector, 53% were occupied. We have 823 bed availability in our healthcare facilities within the province, and additional beds in our field hospitals, as well as private sector facilities such as hotels and lodges. Now, in terms of operational bed status for COVID-19 in the public sector, in eThekwini, occupancy rate is 80%, in Mkungundlovu 63%, in Uthukela, the occupancy rate is 17%, and in Umzinyathi, beds that are there are 165. In Ugu, total number of beds that are available, it's 185, and the Umkanyagude 203, Kinzichwayo, beds that are there, it's 303, Hirikwala 137, Amachuba 66, Zululand 148, Ilembe 239. Now, it tells you the occupancy rate is at 53%. We must say that there are patients that are under investigation. Of the total number of 990 patients under investigation are admitted, and 9 patients required ICU, and 44% were ventilated. Admission of patients in private hospitals as of the 15th, I think that's where we must indicate that overall The patients that were admitted are 2,821, and that's where you will see that the number is quite high of the people who are admitted, and therefore private sometimes run short of bed availability. In terms of contact tracing status, the province managed to monitor more than 90% of the identified contacts. Of those monitored, 78% had their specimens collected. Positivity rate among contacts was 11.3%, with Amajuba district at 34%, King Cetshwayo at 20%, and these two are having the highest proportion of positive contact. With regard to the state of the economy and the impact of COVID-19, we believe that the level 3 adjustment is making an impact in reducing the transmission. The immediate impact is felt at our hospitals, where trauma units are able to focus more on COVID-19. Through our law enforcement Operation Vala, we are monitoring the non-compliance with level 3 and illegal sale of alcohol. We will intensify monitoring up to the ward level. We'll continue to ask our people to take care and adhere to level 3 regulations. This virus is deadly, and we have seen that it is also taking young people as well. Hospitals are also admitting an increasing number of young people. We ask and plead that you stay at home, avoid the risk of bringing the virus to your home and your loved ones. Our economy continues to be severely impacted by COVID-19. The tourism sector has been one of the sectors that were hardest hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. Registered establishments across the province had an occupancy rate at an average of about 63% during the month of December. We will provide details in terms of occupancy rate, but the eThekwini occupancy rate was at about 70%. In Hirigwala, 45%, which was the lowest. And we have noticed the increase in the inland district, especially Uthugela. In Uthugela district, the occupancy rate was at 95%. The sector of tourism is set for a rebound this year, but this will be dependent on the spread of the virus. We remain hopeful that the rollout of the vaccine this year will boost the recovery of the tourism sector and other sectors. In terms of business inspection, as we work to ensure compliance with Alert Level 3 regulations, we are intensifying our enforcement measures. These include business inspections, which are conducted by the Department of Economic Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs in conjunction with law enforcement agencies and other government departments. Since the beginning of the year, business inspections have been conducted in eThekwini, Ugu, Umgungundlovu, King Cetshwayo and Hirigwala districts. These inspections led to the following. 105 businesses were issued with notice of fine or closed for contravening applicable legislation. These contraventions include failure to close at 8 as per the regulations. 38 illegal immigrant or undocumented persons were arrested. 94 people were arrested for failure to comply with verbal instructions from law officers to wear a face mask in a public place. 62 people were arrested for either breaking the hours in terms of the curfew. Others were consuming alcohol in public. We will continue with the awareness campaign, educating communities on the regulations while also intensifying our enforcement measures. In terms of hospitality industry again, we have noted with regret the closure of the iconic Hilton Durban Hotel. Since it opened its doors in 1997, the Hilton Durban has attracted many visitors to eThekwini and the province at large. Having this global brand in Durban also served to boost investor confidence as it encouraged other global investors to invest in the tourism property development sector. It is for these reasons that we as the provincial government try to intervene to prevent the closure. Together with the eThekwini municipality and our national government, we explored various interventions to try and prevent the closure. We are, of course, concerned about the plight of about 260 workers who are employed at this establishment. And for this reason, we will continue working with the Hilton Durban to ensure that they reopen their doors soon. We have noted the concern about electricity supply in Msunduze, and the provincial government is currently assisting the Msunduze municipality to address the challenges relating to the electricity outage in the area. We are acutely aware of the inconvenience this has caused to both residents and industry in the capital city. We believe that this deserves the urgent attention it is receiving, as it poses a threat to the economy not only of the city but the province. In the main, the power outages have been as a result of aging infrastructure and cable theft. While the installation of new infrastructure is critical, we will also ensure that there is proper maintenance of existing one. The municipality is also reprioritizing its budget for this purpose, and we have also sought intervention from the national government. MEC Sihle have been engaging with representatives of various firms who have been affected by the outages. The companies have expressed willingness to work with the government and the municipality to resolve these challenges. In conclusion, we wish to remind everyone that we are in this together. IsiZulu sithi kuba mnyama kakhulu uma sekuzosa. Darkness tends to intensify just before the break of dawn. So let us keep the faith and not throw in the towel. The point we have reached, we never reacted or reached it during the first wave. We have far surpassed the peak of the first wave. The highest during the first wave was about 3,000 a day, but today we have reached more than 6,000 in some cases. Let us continue to avoid super spreader activities. Let us ensure that we get more united in our approach. If we can mount a united front against this virus and adhere to all non-pharmaceutical interventions in fighting it, we can begin to make a dent and a big difference against this second surge that is causing so much destruction. We once again urge you to use the only tools that we have against this pandemic and wear our face mask when going out, wash our hands with water and soap, or use alcohol-based hand sanitizer, and maintain social distancing. Once again, Let us remember those who have departed and keep them in our prayers and thoughts. All of those who are mourning as well, let us be with them. Let us support the families that are bereaved because of COVID-19. I must conclude by saying we are in this war together, and let us unite and confront it. It is humanity, the people on one side, united, and the pandemic on the other side. And if we are together, we are going to defeat it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, I think on that, I'd like us to begin to take questions. Premier, Honorable MCs, we are joined by the rest of the people of course on Natal, including members of the media via the different platforms, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And we have one question that is coming from outside of the room, but I'd like to just check, colleagues, if we have any questions from inside there. The dream that from everybody would identify yourself and the media organization you are from, and then ask your question. Let me just get an indication how many questions have we got. So it's, if you don't mind, 1, 2, 3. Those are the questions that we have at the moment. Can I then start with the first question from mobile?
Thank you. Condolences to the Minister for the Premier on also the NBC. My question is that without myself explaining, without being respectful, the NBC was a crucial portfolio also heading the cluster of security when it comes to COVID-19 response. What's the way forward for you now in terms of that? I mean, would it be a space where you're acting someone there with you guys? Part of what I had said of COVID-19 notifications. And number 2 is what you can see. So there's an issue about which someone in the media recently that he had overdosed 2 people on COVID-19. And that's on that. Are you worried about that? Because let's say it's quite serious that 2 people have overdosed, given that it can be used to treat COVID-related issues there. And number 2, when it comes to the number of days, let's say you don't have an issue right now, you say you're putting on an incremental process going forward. How is that process going through in terms of people coming through? And also, when the thing has said because there's an engaged facility, how would you track that? Is there a way of making sure that after appeals and that you can track them to ensure that they do come to the facility as soon as possible? And for you, let me see, with the closure of the Hilton Hotel, the iconic building, as it says, iconic brand, the same brand, how many other businesses that would have the capacity of Hilton that close or they talk to you, that you can say that we can't survive and we are not an issue by the close? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let us go like that.
Premier, I also wish to extend my sincerest condolences on the passing of Alex. My first question, I guess, has to go to MEC Sihle. MEC, we saw at the head of department, the law department, Dr. Untitled Chapter, present to Parliament this week, and he said that the province cannot really increase its bed capacity for critical and high care patients because of a shortage of specialist nurses and doctors. So, in light of this challenge, what is the plan going forward? MEC today, there are growing calls from the alcohol and the hospitality industries that say that they are also going to be forced to close their businesses. They are struggling. I guess maybe the Premier also can respond to this one. We've been hearing the President tout that the country will be seeing a differentiated approach in terms of its COVID-19 restrictions. In KZN, in light of the fact that we are seeing that the rate of infection is certainly not the same provincial command council having any discussions in regards to that? Another question for you, Premier. I'm not sure if you've been having conversations with the MC for Education, Mr. Vaccination, recently about this big dilemma of outstanding payments for teaching assistants, thousands of them really. We heard this week from Treasury that the reason why teaching assistants cannot be paid is because the money, the 7 billion or so that was released to pay them was actually released through the Amendment of Revenue Act, if I'm not mistaken. And there is a piece of legislation that is yet to be approved and signed. In the meantime, people who worked in December and worked in January are illegal because they haven't received their salaries. We've heard from the Basic Education Department saying that there's provincial departments that have to pay this money, despite the fact that it was budgeted for and announced at the national level. So my question is to you, Premier, does the province have these billions to pay teaching assistants? Thank you.
All right, good question. All right, thank you very much. I thought that there were 3 questions. Looks like we're covered. There's a question that is coming from outside. Maybe I can just so that we respond to all the questions at once. There's a question coming from the City. It's from outside, and it's about accessing beds or honorable MEC. Accessing ICU beds, and what she's asking is whether, my question is there a central database or a call center between government and the private sector? In other words, government and private sector hospitals in present, and that members of the public can access to obtain hospital beds. These beds could be normal or ICU space. If not, can there be some kind of way to access this information immediately? Because the current situation is that patients in need of help are getting assistance via ambulances who are just picking up patients with no idea of whether there are beds available and at which hospital. This results in them driving around, etc. In that process, patients lose contact with their families, and if a patient needs a hospital bed, family members are having to call 6 to 8 hospitals in the province before anything can be done. A lot of stress would be alleviated if there was a single contact point. Forgive me, let me say I just had to read it as it's come to us. So we have those questions there. May I suggest perhaps, Honorable Premier, Honorable MEC, that we deal with the health questions first, and then deal with the economy questions first, and then ask the Premier, as the Premier responds to the question that were referred specifically to the Premier. Premier can make a general statement, and then also a statement of the initial, the main statement in this issue. So we'll go along and do that. Yeah.
Premier is taking all precautions. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm sure, as you would be aware, today is not an ordinary presentation, but because duty called, we had to be here. I'll respond firstly on the issue that was raised by Ubongo in relation to the overdose on the alleged overdose on 2 patients that were put on Vaccination. We believe that happened in one facility in Umgungundlovu, and it is something that we ourselves only saw on the social media. As a result, the HOD has then instituted an investigation that will look into that. But the one issue that I think we need to emphasize and should always emphasize is that the utilization of any drug in the country is controlled by SAPRA. And that is a mandate that is given to the National Department of Health in terms of the Constitution and in terms of the laws of our country. So should there be any call for a province to utilize a particular drug, it cannot be made to the province, that particular call. It should be a call that actually goes to national. Despite on how we as the department feel, or the different general practitioners within our province feel about the matter, we do not have the mandate to actually do anything about it. I'm raising this because one has received a number of calls, not just myself, the Premier as well, has been inundated with calls to say, can he make sure that we allow these particular drugs to be utilized in the province. We are unable to do so unless the drug has been approved by SAPRA. A couple of weeks back, SAPRA issued a ban against this drug and said it could not be utilized in the country, especially on human beings. Subsequent to that, there has been a number of engagements because the minister believes that we should not just outlaw anything without having followed proper processes. So the minister has been engaging with SAPRA, and they are working on looking at what can be done, whether the drug itself could be utilized, at what dosage, and so forth and so forth. So there is work that is being done behind the scenes, but it is work that is being done by the minister and SAPRA. And as soon as we get the proper guidance at that level, we'll be able to provide it. I must then also indicate that our investigation then is only conducted by us because it happened in our province. And as soon as we have concluded the investigation, we'll then have to take it up to the minister and the regulatory body in particular, which is SAPRA. But I also asked about the issue of late presentation. This is where our biggest challenge is. And this is why over the past weeks we have been insisting that we do have beds available in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. Can people really come to our facilities so that they are able to get the treatment that they need? With the narrative, or with the different narratives that are out there that are speaking to the 3G, speaking to the vaccine, speaking to the fact that we don't have enough beds, our people have become very reluctant to approach health facilities or to go to the health facilities, purely because they think they will not be admitted, they will be turned away, or it's not even, they are sick not because of COVID, but because of 5G, as it has been alleged before. So we have seen a lot of people presenting very late. And unfortunately, the results of late presentation in a number of people, including those that are above the age of 60, including those that have comorbidities, whether they are 60 or below, the consequences have been quite dire. Because when they present themselves to the facilities, their bodily functions, some of them have deteriorated to a level that the healthcare system can no longer assist them anyway. It's beyond their assistance. And again, then that also adds to the attitude that is out there that says when you go to hospital, you don't come back. So we are calling on our people to really present early. And what I've been saying throughout is that once you have your results and you think you have symptoms and they are getting a bit strong, don't wait for your symptoms to be too strong. Go to the health facility. Don't be the one to look at yourself and look at what you have and think you know what's happening. Go to a health facility. It must be a nurse or a doctor that says to you, yes, you have symptoms, but they are not very dangerous, they are not very strong. Go home, and this is how you can look after yourself when you are home. At least when a health worker has had an opportunity to examine you, they then will know what is happening. By the way, those that are allowed to self-isolate are also given a booklet that we have created, that is a booklet that assists people who are self-isolating, that assist people who are staying at home. So that's why we insist that come to our health facilities first. We then, with the help of the health workers, they will indicate whether it's necessary for you to be admitted. If it's not necessary for you to be admitted, we allow you to go home to self-isolate, but we tell you what to do. Some will be given treatment depending on the symptoms that they are having. Some will not be given treatment because maybe they don't have very, very strong or serious symptoms. But some that present to our facilities will then be admitted on the spot because symptoms are beginning to be serious. There are those, though, that will also be admitted not because they have very strong symptoms, but because they don't have capacity to self-isolate. So those that don't have capacity to self-isolate, we then create an environment where we are able to isolate them in our own facilities. We have found that in the past few days, those that are presenting at home, so that are presenting to our facilities, they present with extremely low oxygen state in their body. And once you have very low oxygen within your system, it becomes extremely difficult to pull it up. Some actually make it, but some don't. So I'm glad you asked me that question because it's given me an opportunity to make this call again, to say, can people really go to our facilities and be told there whether it's necessary to admit you or not? If it's not necessary, you go home. If it is, then we find a bed for you. We might not be able to find a bed for you in the facility of your choice. In other words, if you live in Umlazi area, you might want to be admitted in Prince Mshiyeni. Prince Mshiyeni is often quite inundated with a lot of patients and they might not have beds, but we will find a bed within eThekwini because we've got more than enough. In fact, as we speak today, we still have facilities that we have not even started utilizing that have beds. I'm talking about one facility that is called the EMS base that we converted. It's generally a facility that is used for staff, but we reconfigured it, converted it, and put oxygen points in that facility so that should we run out of beds in other facilities, including our field hospitals, we are then able to take patients to the EMS base. We've not had an opportunity to see even a single patient in that particular base. The field hospital that we have in Claywood has 228 beds. At no point have we been able to utilize all 228 beds. So we are really saying to our people, we have enough space, people must come. By the way, we also have we have Pixley Isagaseme Memorial Hospital, which is in the Ink area. We've not utilized it. We've not been forced to use it because we have not reached a point where our beds were being exhausted. So I thought, let me just conclude on that particular matter and give a bigger picture. I know that every time we say we have beds, there will be the naysayers that are coming out and saying, no, but we don't have beds, and we've been trying to get beds and so forth. But I can tell you now that those that have called us, called the HOD, called the management, and required beds from the private sector have always been helped. There's not a single person from the private sector that we have not assisted. Maybe let me just then link this with a question Goskona asked on how can we access the beds in eThekwini. eThekwini, well, in the whole province, we have something that we call the bed bureau. The bed bureau, the responsibility is that it's someone at a district level who is able to have an overview of all, or a helicopter view of all our facilities and all the beds. And should there be a call by any clinician to say, I'm running out of beds in my facility and I have someone that I need to admit, this bed bureau is able to find a bed in the rest of the facilities that we have. On the same breath, the private sector is also given the same contact numbers, and some of them have really been utilizing this bed bureau. Let me just give you the numbers that are there. The first one is 031 480 3782 should you want a bed. The next one 031 480 3675, 031 480 3701. This is where you are stuck and you can't find a bed wherever you are. this applies to the general public. It also applies to the health workers or the doctors in the private sector. We also have an emergency number, where if you can't get hold of any of the numbers that we have given you, this is the number you can call. Probably you want an EMS or an ambulance to come and fetch you, then you can call this number. The number is 031 again, 408 3667 or 3668. So these are the numbers that we are utilizing, and these are the numbers that we've made available. They are on our website, they are on our social media platforms, all our social media platforms, so that anyone who wants to access these people, they can. So that is the, no, it was not Coscona who asked that question, it's the one that came online. So that, yes, that is the number that can be utilized. So Coscona asked the question about the presentation that we made. We were required, I believe on Thursday, to make a progress report to the National Portfolio Committee of Health on how are we faring as the province of KwaZulu-Natal in relation to the second wave of COVID-19. Besides raising a number of challenges, and amongst those including the issue of the oxygen supply by the supplier, which is AFROX, and the fact that we have come up with alternative ways of trying to handle that particular situation. The HOD also indicated that in the province we currently have 115 beds, physical beds, but we have a potential of having about 190 physical beds, ICU physical beds. The only reason we are unable to get to the 190 number is because we don't have enough resources that are skilled or qualified to man an ICU bed. You would understand that a ICU bed will not be manned by a general professional nurse. It must be someone who is trained and has specialized in that particular field. An ICU bed will also be not manned by an ordinary medical officer. It will require a specialist to do so. We have been making calls, we have issued adverts, and we've called for people to come and assist us. So far, we've not, we have received some people who have volunteered, some people who have responded to our call, which is what allowed us to get to the 150, but we've not had enough to get to the rest of the numbers. We have the structure physically, but we need the human resource to come through. We know that there are quite a few health workers that have resigned. Some of them had reached their retirement age, but some resigned because they wanted to go to the private sector, and those are the people that in essence we are talking to. It's difficult to speak to health workers that have retired because some of them have comorbidities, and we have also a responsibility of not exposing them unnecessarily to the virus. So we are still calling on those that have the necessary expertise to come forward so that they assist us to add on the beds that we have. But as we have heard the Premier indicating that so far we have only been utilizing 53% of the beds that we have, but we still want to increase our bed capacity, or our ICU bed capacity, and we can only do that by getting the professionals that are qualified to do the job to come in. Thank you very much, Premier. I think I've responded to all the questions.
Thank you very much. We will have MEC
Thank you and good afternoon to everyone. I've got two shortish questions. Yes, Hilton is not the only one, but we can perhaps just deal with the Hilton first. There's ongoing engagement, and the issue was that the city had offered a deferment of its rates payments for a period of 18 months and invited them to discuss a payment plan thereafter. I think that was not sufficient, but at the end of the day, I think they were subject to their international board decision, where I think they closed about 1,000 hotels worldwide, including one in Cape Town. but they've been very clear it's a temporary closure, and we will work to them to that reopening being sooner rather than later. I think that will be critically linked to how COVID-19 plays itself out. It's also linked to its relationship with the ICC. So we are hopeful that it will reopen. It's just a question of time. I think the other one was the Fairmont Zimbabwe Hotel. Again, make it clear it's the Fairmont Hotel's component, not the entire Zimbabwe resort. In fact, the entire Zimbabwe resort had a very high booking in December, and I'm told that the rates were pretty high, the rates which were charged. There they've in some kind of business rescue or liquidation process. We understand that they're talking to 3 potential purchasers and they are trying to get the best deal, and so that's a little bit of brinkmanship in the negotiations there. There are 2 other smaller hotels which have closed. They don't want to be known to protect their brand. They don't want to go public, but we're monitoring that one as well. Not directly linked to hotels, but in the clothing and textile industry, there's the Playtex clothing and factory. It's a specialized unit in the underwear section. It's a long-standing brand, again an international brand, 750 workers at risk there. There's a liquidation process which is going to be finalized this week in court, but we've already started talking to organized labor. The current owners said that, look, they just want the liquidator to be appointed, and that will be the authorized representative for any engagements. So we will continue to engage them going forward. Then I think on the liquor side, well, I think it's well accepted now. There's no debate about the fact that the restrictions on liquor are creating the space in the hospitals and a whole range of social ills. Whether we can in a position to give any relief to the sector, that will be up to the national level. But what we are doing in the tourism sector, there's 2 things generally, 2 things broadly we are asking for. We have mobilized some limited resources of our own. I'm not going to give a figure to it now, put a figure to it now, because I think that will be subject to some further decision making. There were 650 small businesses in the tourism sector that were the beneficiaries of a 200 million national allocation, and each got 50,000. So that wasn't enough, clearly. We want to supplement that, and we think we can supplement that. The other proposal that we are making is, and the National Minister is taking it up, is that the TERS, Temporary Employee Relief Scheme, should be extended, at least for the tourism sector, because unlikely to recover in the next 3 months at least, and that would be a sensible way to deal with it. We're sensitive to the fact that there's limited resources at national level, but to the extent that we ask to identify priorities, we think this sector would be a priority for that kind of relief. I think that deals with the 2 questions that I was asked. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
No, thanks. Well, we understand that the Department of Community Safety and Liaison, but both transport, community safety and liaison are critical. For now, we have requested that MEC Mshengu act, but we will be supporting him, given that we know that there is quite a lot of work that he has to do as well. There is no department that has no responsibility. All departments are challenging and have serious responsibilities. With regard to education and payment of teachers who have not been paid, it's an issue we have received a briefing from education, and they are attending to it with speed. However, for complete and completeness, it will be good that we help you after this to engage directly the MEC and the HOD. But they've given us a full commitment that it is going to be addressed. we will not want to get involved into quantifying figures or dismissing the report you are presenting, but it will be better that you get it from them directly. With regard to differentiated approach, whether we can take that or not, we think we are a province that is, while you will not say one district resembles the other, but districts are interlinked in one way or the other. And you might have noticed that when we presented the stats per district, I indicated that 2 weeks ago, we were talking about 6 affected, highly affected districts. But today we talk about the second category of districts. And that's why I said, analyze the intersection of your N3, N2. That's where things start. Your Durban and your lower South Coast, which is Ugu, then your Ilembe, but your Pietermaritzburg. But once things happens in that triangle, then spread throughout KwaZulu-Natal. So you may say, no, these districts are not affected. But what is happening in eThekwini? In the next 2-3 weeks, find expression in Zululand, in Umkhanyakude, in Umzinyati. And therefore, it is important that when we look on issues from that understanding. And the totality in terms of approaching issues is always important. Don't attend to issues in a piecemeal approach. And it might not help us to open one district and leave others. Because what is happening in one district has a direct impact on the other. Having said that, siqala usuku lwanamuhla ngeindaba ezibuhlungu kakhulu emveni kokudlula kuka MEC ubaba uBhekintuli obengamele umnyango we-Transport, Community Safety and Liaison. Sizwakalisa again amazwi okuzwelana nomndeni neyihlobo nombutho abe kuwo we-ANC nabantu bakwaZulu Natal bebonke. Kodwa noma kunjalo mazwelane also nemndeni yonke elahlekelwe yihlobo zayo ngenxa yalelo bhubhane lwe-COVID-19. Sibonile abantu abaningi ebebe kwimkhakha ehlukene ebuholini eindaweni eziningi abadlulile kulezi insuku. Sibala yena umfowethu ubaba uBhekintuli osishiya izolo. Kodwa futhi kuzokhumbuleka ukuthi ngoLesihlanu silahlekelwe ngesikhathi kudlula emhlabeni uBhodloza uWelcome Mzimande obaziwa kwezokusakaza nowaba ngumphathi wokhozi. Sibuye futhi izolo sabeka endaweni yakhe yokugcina umama uThandi Memela esimazi kakhulu emzabalazweni wakwaba ngu-chairperson we-National Council of Provinces. Siyazi futhi ukuthi esontweni leliya elidlule neqembu le-IFP la report okudlula emhlabeni kukababa uSimo Ezra Mfayela. Ngokunjalo kuleli sonto silahlekelwe nguDr. Imbal Master obelapha eKing Dinizulu Hospital esebenza kakhulu emkhakheni wekulwisana ne-TB. Umyalezo oqala nje sifisa ukusho ukuthi i-second wave ibukeka inzima kakhulu, idinga sonke ukuthi sibambisane, kodwa it's hitting hard okusho ukuthi shaya kuzwele. Yingakho sisho sonke ukuthi kubalekile ukuthi sibe munye ekulweni nalesi sifo. Kusiphatha kabi ukuzwa abantu bethi umuntu umeke watheleleka mase kuphela isikhathi athi useyinqobile iCovid, as if uliqhawe ngalokho and abadlule emhlabeni akubona amaqhawe. I think lokho kuba nayo i-sense of irresponsibility. Kodwa ngaphe kwalokho ukuthi uthelelekile wasinda kusho ukuthi ngeke usatheleleka. Ulwazi oluvezwa ososayensi nabacwaningi bonke likuveza ngokusobala ukuthi baningi abantu abathelelekayo babuye batheleleke futhi. So kubalulekile ukuthi sizivikele nokuthi sibe nayo irresponsibility. Okunye ukusiphatha kabi ukuthi abantu bakithi beza eyibhedlela sekuthatha isikhathi. Umuntu azizwe engaphilile ahlale ekhaya uthatha isikhathi manje eze esibhedlela. Uyafika ilevel yakhe isiphansi kakhulu akusekho ukuthi asizakale. Siyafisa ukucela kubantu bonke ukuthi siyazi abantu bayasaba ukuya ezibhedlela abanye baba worried ukuthi ngeke bakwazi ukuvakashelwa yihlobo. Kodwa umunzi ukuthi awukho kahle kungcono uye esibhedlela. Uma unama signs like umkhuhlane, ifever related to isifuba some, ukukhathala, ulahlekelwe i-taste, phefumula ongekuhle kuphela komoya, ubuhlungu esifubeni, konke lokho kusho ukuthi phuthuma uzicheke. Uma uke waconfirm ukuthi upositive, hamba esibhedlela bakwazi ukukulekelela ngendlela. Siseyinhlelweni kumanje ukuthi silekelele ukuthi sidevelop iprogram efanele nephelele ezosilekelela ukuqinisekisa ukuthi once ivaccine yafika sikwazi ukuthi sidlulisele and abantu bakithi bavaccinate ngendlela efanele. Yingakho sikubalula manje ukuthi ama-district ethu sisebenza ukuthi a-identify indawo la okuzosetshenzelwa kuzo ukwenza le vaccination program. Njenge-Command Council yaKwaZulu-Natal sizokuthula uhlelo oluphelele lwe-vaccination ukuthi luzohamba kanjani kulezi insuku ezizayo. Uma ubheka nje iKwaZulu-Natal irekhode ama-cases amasha angu-29,147 kuleli sonto eliphilayo. Lokhu kuveza ukuthi inamba zisephezulu kakhulu. Noma kunjalo siyafuna ukusho ukuthi khona into evelayo ukuthi ziya ngokwehla kunokunyuka. Kodwa kuyacaca ukuthi sa-affecta kakhulu. Njengamanje ama-district abukeka e-affecteka kakhulu. IseThekwini, uMgungundlovu, uThukela, amaJuba, iZululand, uMkhanyakude noMzinyathi. Okucacayo ukuthi njengoba besisho nje 2 weeks ago ukuthi iku-6 kwama-district, njengamanje singena kakhulu kulama-district asemakhaya afana noZululand, afana noMkhanyakude, afana noMzinyathi, noThukela, noAmaJuba. Siyacela ukuthi sonke sazi ukuthi sine-responsibility, sinomsebenzi wokwezivikela. Abantu esebedlulile emhlabeni ngenxa yalesi sifo bayanyuka kakhulu. Lapha nje KwaZulu-Natal abantu esebedlulile emhlabeni bangu-6,318. Lokhu kuveza ngokusobala ukuthi lesi sifo sigadla kakhulu. Uma sibhekene ne-second wave, inani labantu ababedlula babebala kubo 1% of below. Kodwa manje abantu abadlula emhlabeni sebe-2.3%, okutshenayo ukuthi i-wave esikuyo ishaya izwele futhi ishaya ngokushesha. Yingakho-ke kubalulekile ukuthi abantu bakithi bathathe i-responsibility yokuzinaka bazivikele, kodwa uma-ke beza ungaphili baphuthume emtholampilo naseyibhedlela. Siyabonga ukuthi u-76% wabantu ababe-infected urecovered. Kodwa leyo recovery ayikho esimeni esisifisayo ngoba impilo nje yodwa, ukulahleka kwempilo eyodwa ukulahlekelwa okukhulu kuthina. Siyafisa futhi ukubawulula ukuthi ukudlula emhlabeni kumbe ukubambeka kwabahlengikazi nodokotela nabasebenzi emkhakheni yezempilo kuyi-challenge enkulu. Uma kulodo abahlengikazi noma odokotela noma abasebenzi baseyibhedlela, lokho kusho ukuthi indlela esikwazi ukubamba ngayo sisebenze ngayo ubhekana nalesifo iyakhinyabezeka ngoba yibona abantu abasekhaleni lalimbi. Ngakho ke kusiphatha kabi ukuthi abasebenzi bezempilo abangu 11,419 bathelelekile ngalesifo kusukela saqala kuze kuzoba manje. 107 ngeshwa wadlula emhlabeni oku 1%. Iningi labo bekwabahlengikazi. 6% kuodokotela, abahlengikazi bewu55%. Siyafisa ukugcizelela ukuthi abantu abangasabi ukuya ezibhedlela njengamanje abantu abawu4,975 baseyibhedlela, 58% walokho private hospitals kanti 42% ukuma public hospitals. Ngokwembhede singaqinisekisa ukuthi yebo izinga labantu aba-accommodated abaseyibhedlela beadmithiwe liphezulu, kodwa njengamanje singaqinisekisa ukuthi sinaso ispace. Isikhathi esiningi si-operator ku-53% and therefore ikhona imbhede esekhona abantu uma bezwa abaye ezibhedlela. Mangigcizelele ukuthi uhlelo olubalulekile ekucela ukuthi abantu bakithi babe ingxenye yalo olokwenza i-contact tracing ukuze umuntu nomuntu ahlale ezazi. Sitheste siqinisekise ukuthi labo aba-infected uma sike sathola ukuthi usibanibani u-infected sikwazi ukuthi atheste mese nama-contact akhe athestwe nawo okusho ukuthi labo abake basondelana nabo. Umnotho siphetheke kabi ukuthi umnotho u-affected ngenxa yesimo esibhekene naso. Isikakhulukazi hospitality industry ne-industries ayamene nokusetshenziswa katshona. Kodwa iqiniso lithi njengamanje izibhedlela zethu especially ama-trauma unit anamandla amakhulu okukwazi ukudila nalolu bhubhane lwe-COVID-19 as opposed ukuthi badile nama-cases ama-accident are-related kutshwala. Siyafisa ukusho ukuthi sizoqinisa amatomu ukuthi simonithe, soqinisa kakhulu umthetho ukumonitha i-compliance kuzo zonke indawo. Siyazi ukuthi i-hospitality industry ezokungcebeleka zishayeke kakhulu. I-occupancy rate ngenyanga kaDisemba okusho ukuthi ukuhanjelwa kwey'ndawo ey'fana namahhotela bekuwu-63% ngoDisemba. Lokho kuveza ukwehla okukhulu. Kodwa-ke noma kunjalo sinethemba lithi ukudlula kwalesi simo uma kutholakala i-vaccine kuzokhanda ukuthi umnotho ubuyele esimeni ngokushesha. Kusiphethe kabi ukuthi eMaritzburg imsunduzi umasipala wethu ney'ndawo ezakhela umasipala ziney'nkinga ey'thinta ukusebenza kagesi. Siyal-athenda lelu daba nokubambisana nomasipala. Lezi y'nkinga iningi lazo zisukela ekutheni ingqalazizinda ayikho kahle. Yingakho-ke sithi kubalulekile ukuthi i-improve futhi senze i-maintenance. Siyathembisa ukuthi sizobambisana nomasipala ungenelela udabeni lukagesi lapha eMsunduzi. Angiphethe futhi ngokusho ukuthi siyazi ukuthi abantu baseChatsworth nabo bake baba nenkinga yamanzi. Naleyo nkinga siye sa-insista umasipala waphuthuma. Sikholwa ukuthi ixazululekile la ingakaxazululeki ngokuphelele izoxazululeka. Siyabonga.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming.
Cheers.